You know, sometimes you have to cut corners, or in this case, cut granny squares. Fall fast approaching, you know what time it is. It's sweater time. Here's the thing, I was not gonna do this video right now, but the other video that I also wasn't gonna do, but then I decided to because the other video that I was gonna do before that video didn't work out. I had to do with this bad boy up here. It is a serger. I will get to it. The only problem is that I had cut out fabric pieces. It's this here. I had cut out the pieces and I only can find 2 skirt panels and one of the straps. I spent an hour looking in my room and looking at all my fabric stash in the garage. It's just gone. So here we are today. We're gonna do this. About maybe 2 months ago, I thrifted this gorgeous crocheted granny square blanket because I want to make it into a cardigan. It's not that I don't love the blanket itself, it's just when I saw these colors, I instantly fell in love with it. You know, the logical part of my brain is like, hey, do you know how much money a yarn that's going to be to buy all these colors? It's gonna be a lot of money. This is an older blanket just by the texture, like the feel of it. It's definitely older. So these colors may or may not exist anymore. Sure, I could find some that were very similar. And so for me to try to color match it, I don't want to do that. I decided to buy it and then I'm going to cut it up and then we're going to make it into a cardigan. Now, when I say cut it up, I do literally mean cut it up, but not destroy it. Don't worry. With a granny square blanket, for those who might not crochet, but I feel like a lot of people who watch my crochet content crochet, you have to make every single square separately and then you have to sew them all together to attach them. So if you kind of like pull them apart, you can kind of see where they're stitched together. My plan is to get one of my other cardigans that I like the fit of and kind of lay it down, and then cut this line as many squares as I need to go down. And that means 1, I don't have to take the time to actually crochet the squares, and 2, I don't have to take the time to attach all the squares together, because attaching the squares together takes longer than you think. Well, longer than I think. I always think I'm gonna get it done quick. That's never the case. I fell in love with these colors together, and I actually did want to make a cardigan, black stitching with very vibrant colors in it, and like I had this idea, and then when I saw this one, I'm like, this might be an easy way to do it. Also, I kind of want to do this for people who might not crochet but want to have crochet items to teach you how you can actually make this blanket into a wearable cardigan. That's pretty much essentially the idea. This is a very big blanket, so I think I have enough. Now, the other thing that I will be doing for this project, I will be putting cuffs on here, so that's later. That's when everything's put together. And I also don't know if I'm going to put ribbing on the bottom yet. That's to be decided. We're going to see how it fits, and then if I want to add just like that little extra detail of ribbing on the bottom, I will, and maybe I'll add a little bit of ribbing on the sides. And I'm going to start this tomorrow because today has been very hectic looking for fabric that I still haven't found, and I'm emotionally distraught about that because I really wanted to do that project. It's like the universe is telling me, no, Michelle, do not make this dress. Because it's the second time that I've tried to make this dress and it's just not happening. Anywho, I digress. I'm gonna start this tomorrow. I don't want to do it today. I am so tired. I think I'm gonna work on another crochet project for tonight, and then tomorrow, gonna start working on this project. So it's the next day. Like I said, I needed a break yesterday after the whole sewing thing of me not being able to find the fabric. Still haven't found it, but I still haven't found it. We're moving on. Eventually, maybe I'll find that fabric. But today is a new day, and I'm going to be working on a new project. Okay, so here's this. I also should let you know that I washed this. I've washed this probably 2 months ago, thinking I was gonna make it 2 months ago, but here we are today. Right now, what I wanna do is I wanna figure out how long I want this to be. Why are you depleted? I just... okay, it's fine. Oh, okay. Take 2. Battery died. Probably should charge it anyways. These are pretty big squares. The squares I've done in the past have been a little bit smaller than this. You know me, I don't like anything too long. I think 3 squares is gonna be enough. I think the 4th one would be way too long. Here's the thing, it might change. I think 4 wide because I want it to be a little bit longer. If I do 4 wide, then the sleeves can be a little bit shorter, but if I do 3 wide, like 3 by 3, you get into that problem where when I'm connecting everything down here, it's just gonna be too bunched up. If I move it down a little bit and I'm connecting it here, it's gonna just fit a little bit. So it's like personal preference. So we're gonna do 4 by 3 for the back. We're gonna do 2 by 3 for the 2 fronts. And then for the sleeve, I think we're gonna do, I don't know for the sleeve yet. I either might do 3 or 2. Just because looking at it, the 2, I mean, again, I'm gonna be adding ribbing, and the ribbing is gonna add like 3 inches, 2 to 3 inches onto the end, right? So technically the sleeve only has to go to like here. So I think it might be just 2, and I think the sleeve around might also be 2. So it might be 2 by 2. Okay, so I guess it's just time to start cutting things out. I'm gonna do my best to cut them out in the same area. So then that way, if I have extra left over on the bottom, I could use it as a blanket. I could make it into a pillow. I can do some stuff with, so it's not a bunch of pieces. Because I like all the color combos. And I think all the color combos, looking at it now, I've never actually seen it long. They all look like they're all going like down. Okay, so time to get to cutting this out. If you kind of look, there's like stitches in the inside, so let's try my handy dandy sharp scissors. Because I didn't make this, I'm not too sure how they joined it together. Oh, this is a gamble. Okay, I think one of those are. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna do that. Okay, I think I found it. I might have accidentally cut into the thing itself. That's okay, because I'm going to sew it. So it's a little dinged up there. As long as I don't pull at it too much, I think I can just repair that. This is what I'm doing. I switched to these scissors because they're going to be easier for me to pull at. I feel like this is probably the best option. Instead of just snipping down, you just have to find the one piece of yarn that has sewn them together, and then you have to take it all apart. And then ever so often, you can just cut the little piece off. I did have to make some sacrifices. Like if worse comes to worse, I'll just take the black outlining of like the ones that I'm not gonna use, and I'll just add a new black outlining to it. So it's okay. I think what I'm running into is this blanket is so old that some of the fibers have just matted together. And then also whoever had made this, wherever they joined it in, they did not want those joints to ever come undone. Like they double, tripled, quadrupled, knotted them together. When I get to like, you know, the joint of 4, it is so hard for me to find where I have to cut. So that's kind of why I made this little oopsie up here. I've taken things apart that I've made, and they've been pretty easy because, you know, the yarn hasn't been like, you know, tangled, matted together over the years, and I didn't secure them probably as much as this person did. If I accidentally have to cut into here, it's gonna be okay. Don't think like, oh no, you're destroying the beautiful blanket. First off, I am destroying the blanket because I'm making a cardigan. All I would have to do is just take the last row out of black and then put a new black on. So it's not all is lost. That's what I'm going for. So as long as the pieces that I need are okay, I'm fine. And we have Pippin, who is halting production because she needs to put her paw on the blanket. Look at those big eyes. What are you looking at? Last night I cut out all the pieces. Now the problem I ran into was when I was like trying to drape it over me and see how big I needed the pieces to be. I forgot to take in the fact that the blanket was very heavy, and so it was like dragging everything down, so it was stretching out the blanket. So yeah, I had to make a few little changes. I decided to do this. Last night when I tried it on 3, seemed way too short, so I ended up doing 4. I don't know anymore, because my original idea was I wanted to do 3. What is going on right now? I don't know what to do now. I mean, at least it's not the opposite problem where it's too short and I have to make it longer. I don't know, do I just want to have an oversized cardigan? Maybe? Last night I had decided that I wanted it to be 5x4, and then I cut out a 4x4, so whatever. The sleeve, I was actually gonna do 2x2, but again, because it was weighing down so much, they stretched, and so it looked like I could do 2x2, but in reality, I'm doing 2 down and then 3 around, because I really like that extra space in my arms. Also, like when it comes to attaching, if it was any smaller, like it's just around my arm, and that would be the most uncomfortable thing ever to wear. And what's so funny is that this was actually supposed to be this piece here. I had cut these 2 pieces out, and then I realized I want it to be a little bit longer. Just reuse these for the sleeves. Okay, so let me just piece some of these together so you can kind of get an idea of what I want. Just loosely kind of pinned it. Okay, so this is kind of what it's looking like. Ugh, it's very colorful. I really do like it. I'm not gonna wear it this far up. I think it's gonna go down a little bit. So then that's gonna go down, then that's gonna get attached to here. This is going to be a really big cuff. Okay, so I think that looks pretty good. I really like these colors together. They look so cute. And you know what? I think I do like the length. I think if it was cropped, I think it would just look too boxy. I think I like the longer look because it does look more like 70s, and they had a lot more like longer cardigans back then. So I feel like that might work. My arm hurts so much. And there we go. So that's what I'm working on today, attaching them all together and then hopefully getting the ribbing done. I don't know if I'm gonna do ribbing around the whole thing. I might just do like a few rows of like single crochet because I don't think I want to add any length to it, but I do want to like clean up the edges where I cut. Also, I do want to point out that I got a little frustrated last night, and I don't know who made this blanket. They made a really lovely blanket, but I came into so much trouble about how they connected the pieces together. Okay, some of the pieces, they just connected it using like a single thing of yarn, right? And that was fine to undo. And then other times there was 2 yarns going like this that I had to like disconnect 2 of them, and I gave up on that piece. And then there was another one where I just could not find the end. I kept cutting and cutting and cutting and trying to break it apart. I couldn't find where they had sewn it together. It was very frustrating. So I may have taken the scissors to it and cut it a little bit more than I wanted to. It's just the outer layer in black. If I ever want to use it again, I can just get some black yarn and just do a granny square border. Simple as that. So I'm not too worried about that. I think I did it to this one. This is what I'm talking about. Can you see those ends? I couldn't do it anymore. And I'm like, why am I like painstakingly trying to do something when I don't need to do it? I think with this one here, what I might do is I think I might make it a cute little pouch. I think it'd be the perfect little pouch. You know, sometimes you have to cut corners, or in this case, cut granny squares. Yay. What I have to do now is figure out where I want these pieces. This is so weird. Why is this smaller? These look smaller. Why are some squares smaller than other squares? Like, look at that. That square is so much smaller than that square. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Like, it just doesn't make any sense why this is shorter. Okay, so for some strange reason, this panel is smaller than all the other panels. This will have to be used for something else. Yeah, so I'm gonna have to cut this panel out now, but I'm gonna cut it. That looks a lot better. Now that I kind of have a plan, I'm going to be attaching it together with this yarn. What I'm gonna do is I've decided, I think this is an outer layer. This is, you wanna come in my room? Come in, make it fast, make it snappy. Pippin, what are you doing? No, you can't sit there. Okay, well.
20 minutes later.
Okay, so now that Pippin has left, I can start working on this. Trying to figure out what's the front and what's the back. This looks like the outside. So I want to make sure the 2 good layers, like the outside layer and the outside layer, are on the outside. Clip that, clip that together. So side note, what's gonna happen is when I'm going through, because I didn't leave that extra panel in the back like I said I was gonna for my neck, I'm not gonna stitch all the way to the end. I think I might just stitch to there. So then that way I have an opening where my neck can go, if that makes any sense. Also, if you don't have clamps, hair clips, they work just as great. So you can just like put the hair clip like that. I'm going to attach all of them together with a piece of black string because that is the border of this, and my yarn needle, and connect them all together. Now that I have the front and back panels attached, I am now attaching the sleeve. Now, because I'm doing the sleeve by 3, and so like this is like kind of like 1, 2, 3, 4, like it's split in the middle. What I do is the middle of the sleeve, which is right here, I just pin the middle to where the shoulder is going to be, and then I clipped it there, and I clipped it there, and then same with the yarn needle, just going to attach it across. And now it kind of looks like a T when you think about it, because you have the front and back panels that are long, and then you have this little part that comes out here, which would be like, you know, it's kind of shaped like a T. You kind of see how it looks like a T? Now that the sleeve is attached just like that, what I'm gonna do is I'm going to open it up. This is the outer layer, aka the good layer. Technically, they look the same, but this is what I'm gonna call the good layer, okay? All I'm gonna do is just fold it over like that. Now I'm attaching the front panel to the back panel, and then just closing up the sleeve. And that's pretty much it. Now, what I like to do is leave myself a really long string, so when I'm attaching the arm here, all I have to do is just continue this way because I have enough for my yarn to do so. Take my little clamps, and I like to clamp the bottom and then clamp each one of like little joints. quickly, what I want to show you right here, as you can see, I might have cut it a little bit. All I'm doing is with the same yarn, I'm just kind of going through some loops. I mean, that's what crochet is. It's just a bunch of loops. So if you cut into it, you just got to find the next loop and loop into it. And then I just pull it. It looks fine. I mean, yeah, you can kind of see that, but that's going to be on the inside, so you're technically not going to see that. So this is what it's looking like so far. For the sleeves, as you can see, they are a little short. Now, here's the thing. If I were to add another one of these, it's going to be way too long because I do need to put a cuff on it. What I really should have done, but it's too late now, and I'm not going back, is that I should have had 5 in the back. If I would have had 5 in the back, then everything would have worked out okay. But it didn't. I've already put it together. I'm not undoing it, so not happy. I know part of me is like, why didn't I put 5 in the back row? I should have put 5 in the back row. I'm not taking it apart now. I got the 1 cuff done. I really like it. I thought it was going to be like way too long and just look weird. You know what? It doesn't look bad. It actually looks pretty good. Now I just have to do the other one. And then I have to figure out kind of what I want to do with here. I think I might bring it in a little bit. See, if I were to have made the squares, I think I would have made these half squares. I didn't. I just have to figure out what to do with this. This is why I should have added a 5th panel, because then I wouldn't have had to worry about it. Here we are. Now, when I tried it on, I just felt the very front of it was just so boring. I'm just gonna put a little, just a little bit of ribbing, not a lot. And by a little, I mean like this, that's 15. I'm thinking 5. I think 5 would be good, just as like a little something on the front. Also to kind of hide maybe where I cut it, you know? So I was originally thinking about just doing some single crochets, but I don't really think that would look good. And for the neck as well, I think the ribbing would look really nice just to kind of like incorporate this, make it look a little bit better. As for the bottom, we're gonna see. I might end up doing the ribbing on the bottom, or I might just do some single crochets. Yesterday, I got pretty much all the ribbing done except for this little tiny patch here, and the only reason I stopped was super tired and I wanted to watch my TV and then go to bed. But also, I decided that I do want to do ribbing on the bottom. I just feel that this, with the ribbing, it just gives it that little bit more pizzazz. It looks better. Like, it looks more polished and put together. That's why I've decided to do it on the bottom as well, just because I think it will look nicer. So I'm gonna spend the rest of the night putting the ribbing on the bottom, and then I will be done. As you can see, I finished it. The bottom ribbing took much longer than I thought. For some reason, when I think of doing the bottom ribbing, I think I'm just doing like the last 4 squares from the back, and then there's these 2 squares and then these 2 squares, so it's actually double. But anywho, I finished it last night and this is what it looks like. I'm actually quite surprised at how good this turned out. Like, I knew what I was doing. I knew it was gonna look cute, but like this cute? Let's kind of go over some things. Let's do the length. I don't know what happened that one night when I'm like, yeah, 3 is gonna be enough. And then I kind of like draped over me, like, no, 3 is not gonna be enough. And then the next day I'm like, 3 would have been enough. That's what it would have looked like if I had cropped it when I wanted to crop it. Trust me, I still don't know what went on in my head. I don't know. It would have been quite cute, but here we are. It's 4. If I wanted to take it apart, I have to take apart all this ribbing at the bottom. That's not gonna happen. I think this is okay. Again, every time I crochet something, there's always one thing I don't like about it. You know, if you crochet something and you don't like it, that is completely normal. Every single crochet project that I've ever made, no matter how much I love it, there's always something I'm not the biggest fan of, but I live with it. In this case, it's the length. I still think the length is pretty cute. I think it works for this. For a few of my other projects, not so much. If it was a sweater, I usually like my sweaters ending up here, but because it's open, it's fine. Okay, let's talk about the sleeves. I think they turn out really good. I really like these long cuffs. Usually for my cuffs, I do 10 high for the ribbing. I'll bring this in here so you can see. I usually do 10 high for the ribbing. I did 15 on this, and I was like, I don't know, is it gonna be a little too long? But you know what, it actually looks pretty good. If I had added an extra square to this, what have ended up happening is that the sleeve would have had to been bunched up a little bit, and so I just think it looks good like this. What's a really good tip is if you are making crochet items or even knitted items. But if you're making like a granny square sweater such as this, always start your sleeve a little bit off your shoulder. You don't want to start your sleeve up here. If you start your sleeve up here, guess what's going to happen? Right here is where all of these corners are going to connect. And unless you make it super baggy, it might be really uncomfortable when your arms are like this, you know what I mean? Starting your sleeve a little bit lower means that all your attachments are also going to be a little bit lower on your arm, and it's going to be more comfortable to wear. Now, remember how I said I wish I would have done 5 in the back? Still kind of wish I would have done 5 in the back, but 4 in the back is okay. Like this, right? This isn't bad. This works. It works. But the 5th one would have lined up like right here, and so that would have made a better neck space. Okay, so that's something. And know what's so funny is that my one sweater, the very first sweater that I've ever made, the sunflower one, that was my problem. I kept saying, should have added that 5th one. Why didn't you add that 5th one? Next time, add the 5th square. And guess what I didn't do this time? Hopefully future Michelle will now remember to have 5 squares. I did make it work up here. So remember how I had like that cut here where I connected the front panels to the back panel? What I ended up doing, I just did ribbing all around that kind of that 90-degree angle. So I kind of rounded it out and it gave a nice little collar. So it's not gonna like sit flat like this. It's kind of gonna like pop open kind of like that. Because it's black, you don't really see it. So I think that's okay. Something else that I would have liked to add to this is I could have added pockets. That's still something I can do. Like I could do that. I just don't really want to do that right now. But I could add 2 pockets, and I think the pockets would have worked better if I would have done this, because then I could have put the pocket like right here. But now I'd have to put the pocket down here, and I don't want to put the pocket like here. You know, if I were to put a pocket, I'd want it like it to blend in with the outfit. So there's that. The yarn I used was the Lions brand Pound of Love to crochet the ribbing, the cuffs, to join them together. That yarn was the perfect yarn for this, because working on it, like I can't even see the difference. And trust me, I know the difference between my black yarns because of the Fall Out Boy incident that I will continue to mention, because it still haunts me to this day, where I bought Bernat yarn, both black, different dye lots, and when I was crocheting together, one of them was a little bit more gray than the other. So I'm really glad that this black yarn just really blends in with the original yarn on this project. Because again, I don't know how old this is, okay? It could have been made 5 years ago. It could have been made 50 years ago. In my head, 50 years ago is the 1950s. It's not. It's the 70s. I personally cannot see the difference. I mean, if you can, okay. But I can't see it, and that's what's important. Also, if you're wondering how much of the blanket I have left, I have so much of this blanket left over, I probably could make the hoodie version of this if I want to, but I have so many other projects that I need to do first. I can still use this as a blanket. So there's still so much of this that I'm definitely gonna be using for something. I give this an 8 out of 10. I'm going to deduct marks 1 for doing 4 instead of 5, and I think I should have made it by 3. But other than that, I am gonna wear it. It's extremely comfortable. It's cozy. I love the colors, and I was gonna make this anyways. This was a project that I wanted to make, but then I didn't actually have to make all the squares. I just had to cut up a blanket, attach them together, and put some cuffs on it, and I got a cardigan. I think that does it for this video. If you're new to my channel, like sewing, thrifting, crafting, and of course crocheting, why not hit the subscribe button? You can follow me on my Instagram, TikTok, and now my Patreon. I think that's it. So y'all have a good day now.